Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Fujit's Blitz. And okay, so this tank's been out a couple of days, but we're going to look at the Badger, the British Tier 10 TD. Yep, it's a crate tank, everybody. But you know this by now. I mean, you've all seen it in the store. And you've probably seen it on the battlefield if you've been rolling out in Tier 10. But, I mean, this is a long-awaited tank. What's it actually like? Well, this is it in Armour Inspector in all its glory. And, you know, it's a funky looking tank. Realistically, it looks a little bit like the SU-122 or whatever you want to think in that respect, and it's a little bit different to your normal British TD because they're normally very high. These are its stats. As you can see, the penetration is off the scales. It's got a relatively good reload, and it's got trolley armor. It's got quite a lot of hit points. Biggest problem with this tank? Well, a couple of things. Firstly, it's a crate tank, and it's got a 3.5% drop rate. Secondly, it's a collector. This thing can be nerfed. Unlike a premium tank. Okay, so premium tanks can be nerfed, but they very rarely are. Well, I say that, they have been recently. Anyway, moving on to the stats. As you can see, it's got over 2,000 hit points. The armor at the front is pretty thick. On the sides, it's reasonable, and on the rear, it's non-existent. Now, its view range, not too bad, but look at the fire. Its DPM is 3,200. It's got pretty reasonable damage. It's mediocre. It's not massive. You're not setting the world on fire, but it's got a good reload time, and it's got 10 degrees of gun depression. Now, this is it in armor profile on its own. As you can see, the front is pretty solid. The sides are not too bad. They're angled slightly, so you'll get a few bounces there, and there's nothing on the rear. Now, if I stick it against an E100, you'll see here that there's a square on the lower plate, which is really pennable. If you stick it all down, as you can see, it turns into a big red tomato. However, if you look carefully, there you go. When you angle it too much, there's these little green spots either side of the gun. Now, you can pen those. Seriously, I mean, you know, if you're good enough, and there are some very good players out there, guys, you can pen this tank front on. Side on and rear on, well, you're going to pen it. It's as easy as that. Now, as I said, this tank is long awaited. Everybody has been looking forward to this tank. And in World of Tanks game, it's relatively OP. But is it OP in this game? And is it really worth you dropping a shed load of money, realistically, on a 3.5% chance of getting this tank in a crate? Well, I'm not the person to tell you that. Personally, I think this is a bit of a damp squid, if the truth be known. And one of the main reasons for that is its turning circle. It is absolutely awful. And as you can see, you can bounce the front there. I mean, if anybody comes close to you, trying to turn this thing is an absolute nightmare. It really, really is. Because it is so slow on the traverse. I mean, it's absolutely awful. Now, this isn't exactly the smallest tank in the game, and the sides are pretty long. So, you know, a good medium tank like an E50M or a T62A or 121B or an Object 140 will have no problems with this thing. In fact, some of the heavies have no problem with this thing. The good thing about it, however, is if you stick it all down and you get it in the right position and you use its gun, which isn't too bad, then yeah, you will bounce, and yeah, you will have, you know, you are a tricky tank to get to grips with. That doesn't mean to say that frontally it cannot be penned. It can. The lower hull can be penned. You know, most people go with HE on it. The lower hull can be penned, and those little flaps on the side of the gun, even though in Armour Inspector it does look really trolly, that also can be penned, but the gun is pretty accurate. The reload isn't too bad. It's on around 8 seconds. The damage, well, it's not churning out shed loads of damage. Oh, I mean, big bounce there, look. It's not churning out shed loads of damage, but it's churning out reasonable damage, and a lot. I mean, it's got a DPM of over 3,000 on its standard AP. And I'll be honest with you, its AP doesn't really struggle to... Oh, I don't know where that shot went. Went straight underneath him. It's really annoying. And now I'm going to do, I mean, you know, the AP doesn't really struggle. It's quite good, although it struggled there, and I just tracked him. And I've got about what? Oh, I've got no hit points, and I'm going to ram him because I'm a fool. And we die. He did 2,700 there, bounced 1,200. You know, we took a couple of kills, which was nice, and we did okay. We're not setting the world on fire. I mean, this is, you know, one of my first games in the damn thing. And we get a second-class round troubles, and we get, you know, a good amount of credits, which wasn't too bad. However, this thing took me about, I don't know, 19 crates before I got it, which means I had to buy 2 of the crates packages to get the tank, which equates to about $54 per package, £44 or 48 euros, and I had to buy 2 of them. So that's $108, 88 pounds, or 96 euros, which is bloody expensive. Let's not kid ourselves. No, I think I got quite lucky in getting it after 19 odd crates. There are some people who it's going to take a bit longer. And your standard package, well, I mean, I know some people have got it in the second crate or even the first crate, and they've been very lucky. But it's a 3.5% drop rate, guys. You know, I mean, whichever way you look at it, if you're going to be very lucky and get it in the first 1 or 2 crates, well done. But most of you are not going to get it in the first 1 or 2 crates. You're going to have to buy the package. And at close to $100 a tank, boy, it's not a cheapie. And is it really worth it? Well, this is where it's a mixed bag. One, it's a collector, which is annoying, because if you're dropping close to 100 quid on a tank, then you want it to be a premium rather than a collector, to be perfectly frank with you. Secondly, well, this is where I struggle. Okay, it's a nice tank. It's okay to drive. But is it really worth all that money? Well, I would argue probably not. Crates are crates, guys. You know, you take your chances. You are absolutely gambling with your cash here. Now, I said earlier, just diverting a minute, I said earlier that this thing was bloody awful to traverse. In the E50 there is a good friend of mine, Soul in the Machine of the clan Tank. And, you know, we were bantering at the beginning. And he's going to try and I get very lucky here. I get a very lucky bounce from him there. And I'm doing everything I can to try and get this blimmin' beast round. I get another lucky bounce. I managed to shoot him. And, I mean, look at this traverse. It is exceedingly slow. Now, he gets me there. And I wouldn't have got round in time to waste him. Thankfully, an E75 came round and wastes him for me. But that just goes to show how slow this thing is to traverse. And that's the thing about this tank. I mean, it's a mixed bag. And, you know, when you're spending a lot of cash, you don't want a mixed bag, realistically. And, okay, it's going to suit your tank collectors out there, if they've got the cash. But I personally hate crates. I don't like the crates idea. They are technically illegal in a lot of countries, because it promotes online gambling, which, you know, it's not the right thing to do. I thought Wargaming had got rid of them, but they've come back in certain guises. I mean, there's this one, there's the AMX-30 that came out as well. And, you know, crates, I don't like the idea of crates. I would have preferred this to have been either a straightforward cell tank or an event tank. But it's a crate, and you need to be aware of that, guys. It's a 3.5% drop rate. The odds are against you in getting this tank. When you get it, however, you do get it with the funky camo, which I'm sporting here, and the tea time attachment, which is worth 4,000 gold. I mean, it doesn't do you much. It just gives you a bulldozer thing at the front and a gun mantlet for your machine gun on the top that does nothing, and it says tea time on it. It does not come with the equipment unlocked. That's going to cost you about 3 million credits to unlock all the equipment, funnily enough. This is not a cheap tank by any stretch of the imagination. But as you can see, you stick it in a hold down position like this, you are pretty formidable. And don't get me wrong, it's an okay tank. It is never going to be setting the world of Blitz on fire. It really won't. It's a nice tank to drive, don't get me wrong. It's different. It makes, brings something different to the British TD line. But I'm still struggling. And I'm struggling because it's a stupid crate tank, and it comes in stupid crates with a ridiculously low drop chance, and it's bloody expensive in real terms. And that's where I struggle. And I'd love to say to you all, go out there and get this tank, but I would advise that you don't. Now, a good friend of mine, Stubbo, in fact, he's my clan lead, does a Blitz economics paper on the EU forum, and I also put it on my Discord server. And generally, these tanks come around again. However, there are certain tanks that haven't hit the store since being released. And those tanks are, for example, the Scorpion G, it's not hit the stores yet, the T-22, the Russian Tier 10 that came out at the New Year's Tree event, and the T-95, blah, 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 the American that came out in the New Year's Tree event. Those tanks have not hit the store yet, and we're now into June, so they came out, 6 to 9 months ago, and they have not hit the store yet. So whilst I would normally say, guys, hold fire and wait for this thing to hit the stores, you're going to be waiting close to 12 months before this comes. And as you see there, it's a good... This tank is great if you get up close and personal, and I got up close and personal at 183, and, it's very difficult to pen when you're face to face like that. This is the last game. Now, this is not me in a platoon, but a clan member, Evo, was in the same game as me, so we kind of platooned. It was impromptu. But, this tank... Okay, let's put aside the crates, malarkey, and that sort of crap. What's the tank actually like? Frontally, okay, it's hard as nails, although it can be penned, especially that lower plate and those bits to the side. Side on, it can be penned. Rear, it can be penned. Mobility-wise, it's slow, and it's got horrendous traverse. It really has. Gun-wise, well, the gun is pretty accurate. It will reload in a real nice time, 8 seconds. Dishes out medium damage, but it's got a DPM of over 3,000. The APCR is not too bad, but the HE is pretty poor, I'll be honest with you, and it's a British tank. Gun depression, well, it's got 10 degrees, which isn't too bad for a tank of this caliber, to be perfectly frank and honest with you. And, is it going to set Blitz on fire? No. It's a mediocre tank. It's not going to trouble that many people on the battlefield. Many people have probably come against it already and come off okay. Now, I didn't get an ace in any of these games because when it first came out, there were people getting over 7,000 odd damage because, people were just playing it to death. And I didn't ace it. I believe that the mastery has come down now. A friend of mine, clanmate of mine, actually mastered it yesterday with only over 4,000 odd damage and 3 kills. So it has come down. But the thing that's nice about this tank is its gun. And that's probably, in the frontal armor, it's trolly. Aside from that, it's pretty middle of the road, guys. It's nothing to write home about. Now, I know a lot of people have raved about this tank. Fair enough. People have different views on different things. This is not an OP tank by any stretch of the imagination. Nowhere near. It's going to take me 3 shots to dispense this 183. Simple fact of life. If I get up close and personal, I may be able to bounce him, and I do. He's on a reload now. Maybe I will get 2 shots in before he fully reloads, but doesn't matter because he's dead anyway. And I've done 2,200 damage. He missed me actually, so I didn't bounce it. He missed me completely. So I haven't bounced anything yet. I've taken 2 kills. I've done 2,200 of damage. It's 2 against 2. We have a Grilly and we have an Object 268 out there. Now watch my friend Evo in the E100. This is a ballsy move. Watch him. He's just going to drop on the 268 completely and take all his hit points. I just love that. Yeah, that's just unbelievable. I mean, poor 268. He should have moved back a little bit, but he didn't. Now, the thing is, the Grilly has got much better mobility than me. And, you know, I know that. He knows that. Evo knows that. So we're in a bit of a tricky spot here. But I'm going to do my best to get around. Now, the Grilly makes a mistake. He goes straight through. Allows me to plow into him. There's no point me loading HE. I'm not going to get mega high rolls on a Grilly with the HE, I'm afraid. So I'm just going to stick with the AP and be able to pen him. So there you go, look, he's penned me, and look at this traverse, oh my life. And Evo's just going to try and ram him into the corner, and why not? And I finally get him wasted with an AP. So I did 3,200, bounced nothing, took 3 kills, and I had a really good game with my friend Evo and got a first class for my troubles. So, that's been the Badger, and I've been Fugit555. Now the thing is, do I recommend that you drop a shed load of cash to get this thing in a crate? No, I do not. Do I recommend that it's worth getting? Well, it's worth getting, but not via the crates, guys. The odds are stacked against you, and I would not subscribe to telling you to do that. Would I advise you to wait and then probably drop some gold on it at a later date? Absolutely. Seriously, guys, this tank is going to bring nothing major to your garage at this moment in time. It's a nice tank to have. It's fun to play on occasion, but it's a crate tank and it's expensive. So if you own a decent replay, send them to the usual address, fugitsblitz@gmail.com, or jump onto my Discord server and upload them there. If you haven't already, please press subscribe, and I'd love to hear your comments and likes. And until the next time, I'll say my usual, stay safe out there, have fun on the battlefield, and happy tanking, because that's what it's all about, guys, having fun and being happy.